All right, welcome today to the technology group. I am Jason Walker along with Megan Smith and Jeff Smith from the OIA. And we have a very special guest with us, Eric Sherman from Talage. And I hope that I say that correctly, Eric, and you can correct me now, or maybe when you jump into your presentation of your products. But Talage is a technology that I was able to see right around the founding. And since then, they've evolved the product on behalf of the insurance agency channel, and they have some pretty cool stuff to show us today. And we are very grateful because Talage, with Eric and his founders, have chosen to support and sponsor the OIA. And Megan is here today because she helped to bring that relationship to life so that we can continue to introduce good technology on behalf of agents through forums like this. And so, Megan, just if there's anything that you want to say about your coming together with Eric and maybe what prompted this solution to be part of the sponsorship group, that would be great for all of our members to hear.
Yeah, so again, I just want to echo, we're extremely fortunate to work with such a great company and, really to work with all 55 of our partners who support us to really provide the resources that we need to help our agents run successful businesses. But then in partnering with companies like Talage, that offer such a great platform, we can also help agents in that way as well. So we started talking maybe back in April, Eric, when COVID was really raging and it was just kind of the beginning. And I remember, having those strange conversations about what the future holds and doing a demo with you and getting really excited that hopefully, this can just be one more resource that agents can use now and in the future. So I'm really happy to have you on board with us. And we're really excited to share all the, the great things you can do with, for our agents. So.
Thank you, Megan. And I think something to point out that we have been focused on here at the OIA is bringing technology to bear that's specific to the distribution channel. When the whole InsurTech movement started, there was a lot of discussion around technologies trying to displace the distribution channel. And then seemingly overnight, we saw tools growing that were helping enable agencies to bring that artificial intelligence, that automation side to the human perspective so that in the end, agencies have a nice hybrid business. And Talage has been able to bring that to the forefront in the commercial space to drive automation around the things that are somewhat, mundane for the customer, mundane for the producers and CSRs. It's helping to fast track what can be fast tracked through technology and really elevating the agency to be much more of a risk manager in the end. And so with that preamble and introduction, I do want to turn it over to Eric. He'll share a bit about the business, but as we have been trying to hold true to here at the OIA, we'll get to see the technology in a live demonstration, and anything's fair game at that point once we're walking through the product. But with that, I'll turn it over to you, Eric, and give you the floor.
Thanks, Jason and Megan. I'm really pleased to be here. I'm just going to start with a couple of slides about Talage. As you had mentioned, we're an InsurTech vendor that we very specifically enable digital distribution for agents of small business commercial policies. And the reason why we chose small business commercial, we have roots in the agency business. Our founder and CEO was worked for an insurance agent as well as worked for a monoline workers' comp carrier. And what we kind of found was the channel is a little bit misaligned. They're great policies for carriers to write. They're not as good policies for agents to write because the amount of work relative to the commission that agents get doesn't line up. So we wanted to be able to sort of scale that in a way to realign that channel to make it more attractive to agents. The important thing to note here is that we're not trying to create any new channels. We're not trying to enable directed digital for carriers or anything like that. We're just trying to give agents a digital extension of their distribution mechanisms. So as a result, everything else stays the same for your agents. All of your carrier appointments, your contingency agreements, your agency and producer codes, your commission, your book of business, it's all yours. We are not wholesaling. We are not transacting on your behalf and giving you a cut. We are flowing through the transaction just like it's you as an agent. So what this allows you to do is give you broader reach, both in terms of with a digital footprint, you can reach more customers, but possibly even more importantly is you can increase the book of small business policies that you write without increasing the amount of work, because the technology is doing most of the work for you. And then we make the situation or the implementation customizable in terms of your landing pages, so you can maintain your branding, your colors, your experience. And we also allow you to create as many landing pages as you need to, so that you can market your business in all the ways that you traditionally did, kind of a think digital, but market analog sort of way. So if you need a page to market to a local chamber of commerce you have a relationship to, or a specific industry that you would write a business on, all that's available. You don't need any expertise. You don't need to be a web developer or have one on staff to make these changes. You can do them in a matter of minutes without any real expertise at all. And then lastly, none of this would be of real value if the experience for the business owner or the customer wasn't very good. So we work really hard to make sure that that experience goes really well for them. And you'll see this as I take you through the demo, as I take you through what it looks like to purchase insurance through the Talage platform. And just one last slide before we get to the demo, just a little bit of a sample of the carriers in our portfolio that we work with. We are trying to increase our portfolio of carriers that we're integrated to every day. We feel like this is one of the most important things that we can do, is give the agents as many options as we can for carriers that they can write policies through digitally. So with that in mind, let me move over to the demo, and you can see here I'm on one of our landing pages. This is for a demo agency, and you can see that what we've really tried to do here is balance customizability with making it easy to customize. So you can upload your logo, you can change all these colors, this background image. If you wanted to remove this sort of how it works explanation, you could pull that out. We've got a little, you can put about your agency here. If you're doing a specific industry page, you can remove the industries we serve, since it's going to go straight into a particular industry. We have a library of FAQs that you can draw from, or you can write your own. And then we have an unremarkable contact us box. But what's important about this contact us box is all of this goes right to you as the agent. We don't get this data. We lay no claim to your data, no claim to your book of business, anything. It's all yours. And of course, the contact information is yours as well. So let's go ahead and start a policy. We will pick an industry, let's say financial services, and we'll pick an insurance agency, and we'll get started. First thing we'll do is we'll enter the business name, and you can see that we've got some integration to Google to pull out everything that's publicly available for the business. The idea here is make the business owner have to fill out as little as possible. So we'll pick the insurance agency. You can see we pulled the phone number out, give it a name and an email. You also have the option, if the customer says, you know what, I'm already confused, I just want to have the agent contact me, hit the button here. Now, if they submit this and they don't go any further, you will have this captured as a lead. So you will be able to have this information so that you can follow up with them. So in this case, we'll keep going through. And this is one of the things about when you have a live demo, sometimes it goes wrong. Let me just do a quick refresh and try that again. I just did that on purpose because I wanted to prove this was a live demo.
Yeah, no, and I think everyone will be able to attest to that now.
That's what I want to see.
There it is.
Okay. Now, we currently write general liability, BOP, and workers' comp to the policy. We're looking at adding other policies. We look to our agent community to tell us the ones that are commonly asked for. There are cyber, business auto, and well, those are the big ones. But we look to the agents to tell us. They've been asking us about personal lines too. We're not sure if we're going to move into the personal lines as well. You'll notice that BOP is not on this list. When we did our customer experience testing, we found that most small business owners have no idea what BOP is. So to do a BOP application, you would select general liability, and you would say yes to the fact that you have business property you want to insure, and then you're doing a BOP application regardless of whether you know it. For the case of the demo, though, I'm going to do a workers' comp app. You can do both simultaneously. Need to give it a policy start date. You can see that we have various liability limits. If you as an agent don't write all these limits, then we would remove the ones that would be erroneous for you. So don't worry about having to write limits that you don't actually write. We'll take care of that for you. Then if your mailing address is different from the address that we pulled out of Google, you can enter that here. From here, we'll give it how many full-time employees we have, how many part-time. We got the street address again in case you wanted to edit it, and whether this is your primary mailing address. Fairly simple stuff. Now, when we get to the employees and payroll, there's some interesting things going on in the background here. If you're a small business owner, you don't really know much about SIC and AIC codes or anything like that. So we deal with all of that mapping in the background. We have all the various different codes by industry, by job type, by carrier, by state, all mapped, and we'll reconcile that all both for the business owner and the agent, so they don't have to worry about it. The other thing that we have going behind here is we have some machine learning that is looking for the job trends. So you can see here we have office employees, so we'll put in some payroll for office employees. We've been seeing outside salespeople or consultants as part of this. So it's kind of put that in as a trend. If I wanted to add another employee type, let's say this particular insurance agency runs a little restaurant in the corner as well. Now, if we saw that 8 out of 10 or so insurance agencies were also running a restaurant in the corner, we'd start to add that in automatically so that the business owner doesn't need to kind of think about these things. The idea is to make it as easy as possible for them to get through this process and get quotes. So now we've got an opportunity to add more locations if you've got multiple locations. So you could actually, through this process, let's say you had a business that had 500 employees and 15 different locations, you could go through that and enter all in here. The likelihood that you would get an online quote is almost zero. No carrier would have an appetite to give you an online quote for that. But we would, however, create for you as an agent a complete Accord 130 form, which you could then download, and then you could shop to your markets. And then we also have another feature, which I don't have set up to demo here, where we could create an Accord workflow if you've got an email destination at a carrier, in the event that there's a carrier you want to just streamline submissions to, but they're not integrated into our platform. And the last thing here, we deal with including or excluding officers and owners. In this case, I'm just going to include the officers for the sake of brevity. And then just a little bit more information on the company. One of the things that we try and do is we try to never ask a question if it's not relevant, and we try to not ask the same question twice. So I'm going to give you a small example of that. If I change this from LLC to sole proprietorship, you'll notice it will ask whether or not you file with your social security number or EIN. If I change this back to LLC, it's not going to ask that because it's not a relevant question. It's just going to ask for the EIN because that's the only option. So I'll put in an EIN, give when the business was founded. We have an option here if you've had any claims to address that as well, to kind of put that into the application. And then the last piece is we get to the Accord or class questions. We actually find, believe it or not, that we have the least amount of drop off if the business owner gets to this page. And part of it is because we pre-fill the no's. We translate these questions from insurance to English, and we don't ask a question if it's not relevant. So the questions are dynamic. So if a question has to be answered yes for there to be another relevant question, we're not going to answer it unless they answer yes to the first question. So I'm just going to leave these pre-filled in as no for this purpose. And at the very bottom, we've got a terms of service, which everybody reads. No one just hits yes like that, as you can imagine, just like with every Apple product. And then we hit get quotes. Now, we are sending this information directly to the carrier underwriting systems right now through the APIs. We are sending along with it your carrier ID or your producer ID. So this looks just like you entered it in the carrier's agency portal. And that's how we maintain the book of business on your behalf. So sometimes this takes longer or shorter depending on the responsiveness of the carrier APIs. This is another example of doing a live demo. So let's give this a minute.
While
Of course.
while it's polling, I'm actually going to ask you a question. The landing page feature that you have, is that can that take the place of a full website, or is this just for these specific lines of business?
So you could, there's no reason why you couldn't, but I mean, it would only be relevant if all you were selling is small business commercial.
Okay.
So most agents sell other things. So it's more common for an agent to have a small business page on their website and have a get quotes button and have it launch this particular page.
Okay. And then while this is still loading, and I totally understand this part because I've seen it so many times, because you're pinging the systems of the carriers, and so you're at the mercy of the carrier. So it's okay because it gives us a chance to talk a little bit.
I did a test run this morning, and it was nowhere this long. And I knew as soon as you hit the record button, everything slows down.
I have another question that strikes me a little bit. So you are putting the power into the hands of the consumer, allowing that business to fill out your forms. And sometimes I'll hear feedback from agents that I want to stop one step short of allowing the customer to be able to go through this entire process without me being engaged. Have you received similar feedback, and how would you rebut that? To say, look, let some of this stuff go through completely from an automation perspective?
That's actually a great question. I get asked this question with just about every agent that I demo for. So because of that, we purposely do not do bind and issue digitally, right? So we take you to the point where you can take a policy into a request to bind state, and then the agent still has to go in and it will all be populated out and issue the policy. And that's specifically because this is still new, right? There's an E&O risk of doing end-to-end issuance of the policy. And we want to mitigate that E&O risk, so we have that last eyes. So one of the use cases we see with agents, one of the benefits, for example, is you can take in policies like this over the phone as well as digitally, but with a receptionist rather than a producer. And then a producer or the owner of the agency can go in at the end of the week and take a look at them all and issue all the policies.
Okay.
Wow, this is totally killing me now.
It's all right. And if you need to just do like a refresh or go back a couple steps and try to repopulate, again, this is all dependent on the carrier system that it's pinging against.
Yeah, let me do a quick refresh.
Okay.
And just run through it quick. We can always edit it. Yeah, I'll do a different industry.
Is there an appetite piece to this, meaning that your system obviously is capturing information around types of business, and in the end, there may be certain carriers that are disqualified or disqualify themselves because they're not going to write that type of business? Does that happen automatically, or when the screen results, will I see some with just an NA beside all your carriers, or do you take out those that can't quote through this process?
So that's a good question. So when we send the information out we send it to all the carriers you have appointments with, but the first thing it does is an appetite check. Okay. So if a carrier doesn't have appetite for it, you won't get a quote from them. You only get quotes from the carriers you have appetites from.
Okay.
And then when you get the quotes, there's usually two options. One is an instant buy, which is a bit of a misnomer because we're not doing the issuing of the policy. But then the other one is if it gets referred to a underwriting, then it will be marked as referred to underwriting. And, there has to be a discussion between the agent and the underwriting.
Okay.
Okay, so let's give this another shot. Oh, you're killing me. There we go.
There
Okay.
it is.
So in this case, the only carrier, because this was a barbershop in Oregon, that we had that wanted to write a workers' comp policy was Liberty Mutual. You can also see that it was referred to underwriting. That's what this asterisk did. If it was a policy that you could request to bind right away, it would say instant buy over here, even though, as I mentioned, that's a bit of a misnomer because we're not going to issue the policy specifically addressing your question. So then we want to choose this policy. And then the next thing we do is we pull out of the underwriting system what the payment terms options are. So in this case, we've got a few options. On a carrier for a policy this small, you might only get one, which is just pay it annually, but I guess Liberty Mutual is cool with doing 10 pay. So we'll do a 10 pay request to purchase. We throw up the fireworks. Then we're going to send an email to the end customer, letting them know that the agent will be in contact with them. And then we'll also send an email to the agent saying that this business has requested insurance. Please get in touch with them and finish the process.
And so from the agency's perspective, then they're going to log in to the back end of this system. They'll see this particular work product that has been produced through the website and be able to pick up from there? Or what does it feel like for the agent once they're notified?
So yes, you can definitely do that. If the policy was bindable, so that the customer did a request to bind, they can also go into, in this case, Liberty's agent portal and issue the policy.
Okay.
But generally speaking, our agents will usually go into our agent's portal or our agent tools to just take a quick look, because we've got a nice way to see everything that was captured, just to make sure for E&O purposes that they answered all the accorded questions properly, et cetera. So that's a good segue now to the agent tools, which is what we have right here. So you can see the first landing page is what I would describe as CRM light. So we're trying to give enough information so that it's of value, but not so much that we're overloading people. We're not trying to do some like super sophisticated Salesforce.com dashboard that you have no idea what it means or anything like that. But you can see how many applications have gone through, how much has been quoted, how much has been request to bind, what the numbers look like on the flow of the funnel, the industry breakdown. If you're operating in multiple states, you can actually see a heat map of state by state. In this particular case, I'm only operating in one state. If you're an agent that only does business in Ohio, the state breakdown doesn't really mean anything to you. And then this is kind of the number of applications over time. So if you're doing some kind of a marketing campaign and you want to see, well, we started a marketing campaign in April, and so we started to see results in May, that sort of performance. Now, if I go over here to the applications tab, I can actually see a list of all of the applications that were that have been submitted and what state they landed in. Can also export this data. So I can export it to a CSV file. And if I wanted to import it into agency management systems, Salesforce.com, something like Outreach, whatever tools you want to use, we could do that. So let's take a look at an incomplete application here, like this one. And you can see that we've got the name, phone number, email, and not much else. So this would be an example of a warm lead that you could follow up with. Maybe they started the process, but then they got distracted by, they left the tea kettle on and it started to whistle or whatever, and they forgot about it. But clearly they're interested in getting business insurance. So we don't have anything much more here. They didn't give their address. They didn't answer the accord questions. And so they didn't give any quotes. I go back here to one that was requested to bind. You can see we've got a lot more information. We actually map it for you because we've integration to Google Maps. We've captured location and payroll. We have a full list of all the answers to the accord questions. So this is an example of where like before issuing the policy, the agent might go in here because they can go through and just make sure that they answered all these questions properly. So a good example here is, they answered no to being open 24 hours. Maybe this was a restaurant, you drove by at 3:30 and you saw that they were open, so maybe it's not accurate. Just gives you a little bit of an check. And then if we go to the quote tab, we'll see everything that was quoted. You can see that they got one bindable quote from Markel. This is also where, at any given time, as long as they've answered all of the Accord questions, we can then download the Accord 130 that we've created. So even if they didn't get any quotes, maybe there was no appetite or whatnot, the agent can download this Accord 130 and then shop it to their market. So we've still saved the agent a whole lot of time. Now, the next thing I'm going to show you is where those pages lie. So you can see this is where you can create and customize your various pages. The one that's primary is the first one that we build for you, which is kind of like the general purpose one for your agency. But let's say we wanted to do one, I don't know, for, let's say, hair and beauty. So you can see that we'll create an additional slug line to the page URL. You can give it whatever headline you want. You can pick the industry. In this case, it's hair and beauty, as well as the profession. We'll call it beauty shop. You can do location logic, but in this case, we're not going to do that. We can give it a background image. In this case, I'll just go with this one. This is the closest one to hair and beauty. And then you can pick a color scheme, or you can create your own color scheme, to match your website's branding. In this case, I'll go with this one. I'm going to hide the introduction. I'm also going to hide the industries we serve because we're jumping right into one industry, so no need to confuse them. Give it an about us. Save the settings, and we just created a page. You can see no expertise needed, not a lot of time. So now we go and we launch that page. And there's our new landing page for hair and beauty.
Really simple. Is this a content management system that you guys have developed in addition to the rating portion?
In terms of just the ability to create all these pages?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I think calling it a true content management system is being a little bit generous to us. But we did develop this specifically because, we did all this in mind with agents. And we know that there are ways that agents traditionally market their business that we wanted to capture, like for specific industry focus, local relationships. We also wanted to be able to give the agents the ability to create pages for discrete social and web marketing campaigns and be able to track those independently so they can see the hits here for the different pages, so that they can see whether approaches that they are using are working.
Okay. And
then the other thing that we provide, which isn't in the technology at all, is also a digital marketing playbook. So Talage is also licensed to write insurance in all 50 states. You can go to talageins.com and you can go through this process. You can buy insurance from us. We don't want to be in the insurance agent business. It's not something that we aspire to be. We don't want to compete with our customers. But what we did do is we did it, number one, is because we wanted to field test our solution before selling it to agents. And then we also wanted to kind of understand how to grow a business digitally. So in doing that with a no storefront digital only agency, over the course of a year, we went from 0 to $1.5 million small business premium. And we learned a lot about how to do that, how to build a digital insurance business in that way. So we give all that background, all that experience to our agent customers, because when they get to the place to say, hey, now that we've got this efficient way to take in these policies, we can now grow the business. We just need to know how.
All
And
right.
I
Eric,
think that, oh, go ahead, sorry.
I was just asking, any other features or tools that you want to show to all of the OIA membership?
I think this is a good place to stop. I mean, the rest of it is all just about setting up your agency and things like that. None of that's really all that exciting. You
Well,
know,
I appreciate you walking us through this, and a couple of questions, and I know we have some that help, feed into this marketplace and this ecosystem, but something else that came to mind is, so an agency signs up for this program and they want to start right away. What does the support infrastructure look like from Talage for this wheelhouse product? Can you give us some semblance of onboarding and support beyond?
yeah, so typically when we onboard the customer, you sign up, we have a customer success team that works with you kind of hands-on the onboarding process, gets all the information we need, creates that first landing page for you, trains you on how to use it. If you like, we can kind of walk you through some of the digital marketing playbook if you want to work with us on that. So we try and be really hands-on. I mean, some of the things that we really pride ourselves on as a company is, number one, being really easy to do business with. And number two, really making sure that our customers are successful with the platform.
Okay. And that's appreciated, I know, from the agency side, because you want to be able to work with agencies the way that agencies work with their customers, because that's how they're conducting business today. So to be able to have some of that hands-on experience from a group like yours is important. More of a macro question, the benefits. So if you were to say, agency, these are the 3 to 5 benefits that you can experience immediately as a result of leveraging this platform, what would they be?
So the first one is, and most of the time when I talk to agents and to cost justify this, they look at it and they say, hey, I can get the work of a producer done without paying a producer. So whether it's taking in the applications online or even over the phone, now someone like a receptionist can do that without having to pay a producer to do that. The next piece is you can grow the business because you can write more small business policies without it taking more work. So you have a vehicle to scale the business without having to scale headcount. Those are the big ones. The third one we find is there's because we have the function of you get eyes on the policy before you issue it, and we have a digital record of all the information that's been captured, there's an E&O benefit to doing it this way. So we minimize your E&O risk of that effect.
Okay, perfect. You mentioned integration with agency management systems, and from my days running Smart Harbor and providing solutions to agencies, that would always come up, and sometimes it would become a barrier to the conversation, and it shouldn't be necessarily. And so I want to ask you for your perspective on integration with third-party solutions, especially agency management systems. One, do you have integrations today? Two, is it necessary that you must have an integration with one of these tools in order to be able to leverage Talage?
So the first question is, no, we don't have the integrations today. We plan on doing the integrations. It's one of the short list of things that agents ask us for. The second question, though, is no, you don't need integration to an agency management system to take advantage of this. We actually have a backdoor integration, if you will, but it only applies when a policy has been issued. So if a customer goes through the process and then you issue a policy, the integration of the agency management system back to the carrier system will populate that information back into the agency management system. But that doesn't address the problem of incomplete apps and things like that. So there are some use cases that we also want to be able to accommodate with the agency management systems that require integration. So it's definitely a high priority feature for us to add.
Okay. And Megan, I'm controlling the conversation and questioning and not being fair. Are there specific things that have popped up as you were watching the demonstration?
You know, since I've seen this before, not really. I think I love the digital marketing piece in this landing page. I think that's awesome. So I guess we've talked about this actually, Eric, a couple times, is like with our tech council, you know, and some of the, you know, offerings that you have, like, how would you see like collaborating, you know, with a smaller group and then with our larger agencies, like, I know we've mentioned doing some pilots. I don't know if that's something that is still on the table or you have been thinking about, because I know you guys are trying to really get into like the Ohio marketplace and have some test agencies, I guess. So I guess my question would be, is that still an option for some of our members?
Yes, we would love to do any number of pilots. You know, the kind of the idea is we want to prove our value to the market there in Ohio, and we're willing to take a certain level of risk on doing that. We also want to work with the agency community to hear back from them what's working for them and what's not. So we're happy to do a number of pilots, prove out the value, get success under our belt, and we think that it will just grow from there. The other thing that I think will make sense moving forward as we start to get more and more of a footprint in the Ohio market is to maybe get something like a quarterly or a half-year review from the agency community about what's working for them, what's not working for them, what features they want. We really want to stay close to our customers to make sure that we're prioritizing things the right way. The other thing we really like to hear from the agents is what carriers we don't have that they would like. So in some other states where I'm in the market, the state associations have actually brought carriers into the discussion to say, hey, you know, our agents write a lot of small business policies through these carriers. They would like to be able to write them through Talage. So let's get the discussion going and get the integration done.
Perfect.
How many agencies do you have on the platform currently across the country?
I want to say approximately 300, but some of those are very large brokers. We were in the first batch of companies to be in Broker Tech Ventures portfolio. It was kind of interesting because they do seed stage investments and they do incubation. And we didn't really need the seed money because we'd already raised the Series A, so we were way past that point. We're also, from a capability perspective, way past the incubator stage, but we did it more for the street cred, if you will. And as a result of that relationship, I think 3 or 4 of those large brokers like Payne West, Holmes Murphy, Interwest have all signed on as customers. And so those are in single agencies, but they are a huge number of agents. And then we also have, you know, I want to say between 200 and 300 independent agents, and that kind of grows on a weekly basis.
Okay. And is this a per agency or per agent cost?
In general, it's a per agency cost, particularly for the independent agency. So, you know, we don't really want to limit the ability of agencies to make money writing premium through this. So like if you're a small independent agency, it would be per agency, not per agent. And then we'll do a discount as a benefit to the Big I Ohio members, of course, as part of the relationship. And then all of your producers are free to set up pages if you want individual pages for producers, write as much premium, because we measure our success based on the amount of premium we write through the platform.
Okay. And are you able to share, or is there a place where we can find more information on pricing and contracts and things like that?
I don't think we have published pricing information per se, but if they come directly to us, we'll walk them through the pricing.
Okay. What have you learned through this entire process as it applies to building a platform and technology for agencies, getting, I'm sure, a ton of feedback with 300 some users? What stands out to you, and how does that shape where Talage goes from here?
Well, I mean, I think the most important thing that we've learned is that our center of gravity are the agents. I mean, we, you know, in sort of the ecosystem or the value chain, if you will, you've got the small business owners, you've got the agents, you've got the carriers in this model. Our center of gravity is the agents. So we have to look at everything through their lens of what's important to them, what's going on in their life, their day-to-day, their business, what, you know, where the opportunities are for them, where their concerns are, and structure not just the product offering, but also the way that we do business, the way that we contract, all around that those particular that particular lens, if you will.
Okay. Any parting words, advice, anything else that you want to point out about Talage and the Wheelhouse product while you have the time and the stage?
I think the most important thing that I would probably want to say is that we want to earn your business by making you successful. So that's where our focus is going to be with you. We're willing to really kind of throw in and put our money where our mouth is for that.
Okay. All right. Any last thoughts from you, Megan?
I just want to say thank you for, you mentioned the discount that you're going to be offering our members. We really appreciate that. In addition to the sponsorship and the partnership with us, we're super excited to work with you guys. So thank you for that.
Perfect. We're excited as well. Thank you guys so much for spending time with me and giving me this opportunity.
Not a problem, Eric. It's a pleasure, and we can't wait to see where this product continues to go. And want to make sure that agencies know how to leverage it. And you've done a great job from a demonstration perspective and providing context from that agency side. And that's always important for the technology and solutions rolling out. So thank you so much. Everybody have a great afternoon.
Thanks so much, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye now.